Alright, hello class. Today we are going to practice balancing chemical equations. You don't have to actually balance chemical equations. You have to be able to identify whether they are balanced or not. Okay? In every chemical equation, there is a reactant side and a product side. The way to remember that is the product side always has the arrow pointing at it. So let's break down reactants and products because you already know what they mean. This little arrow symbol in between is called a yield symbol. That means yield. And in breaking it down in layman's terms, so on your level, all this symbol means right here is to make. So reactants, let's break down. What do reactants do? It's in the word. They react, right? They react. So reactants react to make products. Okay? So let's look at this. I have three different reactants right here. I have hydrogen, hydrogen, and oxygen. So these reactants will react to make H2O. So they'll react to make a product. What's the product?
H2O.
H2O. Plain and simple. Does everybody understand reactants and products?
Yeah.
Okay, what if the reactant symbol... Now, where students mess up is you say, oh, the reactant side is always on the left. No, because you need to go by the product side. What if the arrow was like this? Which side would be the reactant side?
Right.
The right. Where would the product be?
Left.
Because remember, the products are always being pointed at. The reactants react, because what does this mean? To make products. Now, what does this symbol actually mean? It's not to make, it is yield. Okay. Now, let's look at our example here. We have reactants and the yield symbol and products. Now, when you look at your notes up here, it says coefficient and a plus sign. Do not multiply the coefficient past the plus sign. So what that means is, what's the coefficient for Na right here? 2, right? And am I going to take this past the plus sign? No. It says don't multiply the coefficient past the plus sign. So what is the coefficient for oxygen?
1.
Why is it 1? Because there's nothing there. If there's no subscript, we assume it to be 1. If there's no coefficient, we assume it to be
1.
What's the subscript right here?
1.
1, right? Okay, now let's tell me this. How many sodiums do I have on the reactant side? 2. Because 2 times Na1 is 2. Now, the coefficient for oxygen is what again?
1.
1. And what's 1 times O2? 2. Good job. Now, here's the real question. How do I balance equations? I use the products and reactants method. And all that is, basically, it's just the products and reactants T-chart. And it looks like this. So I have a product, always pointing, the yield symbol or the to make symbol always points towards the products. Then we have the reactants on this side, behind the arrow. And this is the reactant product method right here. This is the symbol you're going to use to determine is it balanced. And all you do is you go through the steps, okay? What's the first step in counting atoms? Underline the elements. So I'm looking for capital letters. I underline the H, the O, again, the H and O. All right, now after I underline the elements, what do I do, class? Circle the subscripts. I circle 2, circle 2, circle 2. Why did I put the 1 right there? Because there's no subscript. When there's no subscript, we assume it to be 1. Good job. Okay, so now after I circle the subscripts, what do I do? List your elements. Now listen, this stuff is real easy, but where most kids mess up is right here in this step right here. You see all this right here. Let's list these elements on the reactant side first. Always begin with the reactant side. What elements did I underline? Hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, I cannot automatically just place this over here. What I have to do is make sure that it is over there. Because if it's not, then it has broken the law that we all must learn. And that is the law of conservation of mass. And you've already heard it before. It's like another law you've heard. It states that matter cannot be created or destroyed. Okay? And we'll talk more about that here in a second. So I see hydrogen on the reactant side. Is there hydrogen on the product side? Yes, so I can put it there. I see oxygen on this side, on the reactant side. Is oxygen on the product side? Yes. Okay, now I can count the atoms. Is that the last step? How do I count the atoms? I multiply the coefficient times the... Okay, what's the coefficient right here?
1.
1? What's 1 times H2? H2. Does this 1 go to this O? No, because you don't multiply the coefficient past the plus sign. Alright, what's the coefficient for O2?
1.
1, because there's nothing there. We assume it to be 1. 1 times O2 is O2. Alright, now what is the coefficient for this right here?
1.
What's 1 times H2? H2. What's 1 times O1? O1. Do we have the same amount of hydrogen as we do on both the reactant and product side?
Yes.
Do we have the same amount of oxygen on the reactant and product side?
No.
No. That is very important. This means it is unbalanced and it has broken the law of conservation of mass, which states matter cannot just appear out of nowhere and disappear. So right here, was matter created in the products or destroyed? Okay, we can't just create. Imagine if you could just create or destroy something. Imagine if out of nowhere I could just create gasoline. What would that do to gas prices? It would lower them way down. I wouldn't have to worry about gas prices because I could create matter out of nothing. You see why that's a law? So it states that matter cannot be created or destroyed. Okay? So matter. What are the smallest units of matter? Atoms, right? What do atoms make up over here? They make up the elements that are on the periodic table, right? So atoms make up the elements. So if I am losing elements, am I destroying matter? Yes. So we can't do that. It can never ever be unbalanced. Okay? So when it is, that's all you have to do. In 8th grade, all you have to be able to tell me is it balanced. Okay? Now, I'm going to show you something. Y'all do not have to do this, but by doing this, you will see why we must balance and learn to do it the steps that I've showed you. Okay? So, I'm going to erase this real quick. These coefficients. Okay. Now, I still have hydrogen and oxygen there. Okay? Oh, sorry, I shouldn't erase those. That was 2 and 2. This was 2 and 1, correct? Okay. Now, what times O1 will give me O2? Yes, what times O1, what can I put right here that will give me O2? A 2, right? Alright, now what's 2 times O1? Okay, cross that out, O2. Alright, did that 2 change hydrogen?
Yes.
Yes, it did. It changed it. 2 times H2 is what?
4.
H4. Is it balanced?
No.
No, I need to change this. What times H2 is going to give me H4? 2. 2 times H2 is H4. Now, is it balanced? Yes. What's the coefficient right here? 1. And this is how they will trick you or try to trick you on your test. They will have a question like this. Here's your answer choices. A, B, C, and D. And it'll say, identify which set of coefficients will balance the equation. Okay, and it'll say 1, 1, 1. 1, 2, 1. 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 2. So, identifying which set of equations would balance the equation? C. Where kids mess up is they get lazy and you try to just pick out the one you think it's going to be. What you need to do, as soon as you see this, first, you need to put your coefficient there, then try fitting all the ones in there. If that doesn't balance it out, cross it out. Go to the next one. Then you go in here. Will 1, 2, 1, once we go through all the steps, Does that balance it out? No. Okay. Now we already done this problem, so we know it would be C, correct?
Yes.
Okay. However, you would not know that unless you went through all the steps. Do you understand?
Yes.
Make sure you are going through all the steps. You will never get the question wrong if you do it the way I've just showed you. Okay? Any questions? All right, class. Now I need you to copy down. Just this formula. Do not worry about drawing the little circles, which are the atoms. It represents how many atoms each element has. So I know in balancing equations or counting atoms, I know the first step is what, class? Underline the elements. I'm looking for capital letters. That tells me which ones are new elements. Okay, after I underline, what do I do? Circle the subscripts. That's a circle. Why am I putting ones right here? Because they don't have coefficients. Since they don't have they don't have subscripts. Since they don't have subscripts, what are the subscripts? 1. Okay. F2, Na1, F1, Ca1, Br2. Okay? Does everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, after I circle the subscripts, what do I do?
List your elements.
What method am I going to use to list the elements? The products and reactants. Okay, the arrow always points towards the what? Products. Okay. What does that make this side? Reactants. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to list the elements. I see Na, Br, and then Ca, and then F. All right, now don't mess up on this. This is where everybody messes up. They just go over here and either copy them or they just go in order. Like Na, is F the next one? No, so you have to go in order. You copy down, look at this side, and see if it has it. If it does, write it in the product side. Na, do we have Na on the product side? Yes, so we write it. Okay, Br, bromine. Do I have bromine product side? Yes, Br. Okay, Ca, calcium. Do I have calcium on the product side? Yes. Do I have F, fluorine, on the product side?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Now let's count the atoms. How do I count the atoms? I multiply the coefficient times the subscript, right?
Yes.
Okay. What is the coefficient for this right here?
1.
Since there's nothing there, it is 1. What's 1 times Na1? Na1. What's 1 times Br1?
1.
Okay. Now let's do Ca. What's the coefficient right here?
1.
It's 1 because there is no coefficient there, correct? What is 1 times Ca1? 1 times F2? F2. All right. Now let's see if it's balanced over here. What's the coefficient for this one? 1. What's 1 times Na1? Na1. What is Br now? We got to do Br. Don't just do the next element. Make sure you're doing the correct one. Br. What's the coefficient for Br?
1.
What is 1 times Br2? 2. Okay, now it's Ca. What is 1 times Ca1? Ca1. Finally, what is 1 times F1? F1. Okay, do we have the same amount do we have the same amount of sodium, Na, on both sides? Okay. Do I have the same amount of bromine?
No.
Okay, what part of the law did they violate? Did they create or destroy matter when making the product? Created? Yes, they created an extra element of bromine. That is not possible, so we know it is unbalanced. However, let's go through it. Okay? Do we have the same amount of calcium?
Yes.
All right. Now, fluorine. Did they create or destroy matter? They destroyed it. And that law was called the law of conservation of mass, which states matter cannot be created or destroyed. Okay. Reactants, they react. What does this mean? To make. And what do they make? Good job. Have a good day, class. And you have a good day as well.